In the shadows of history, some rulers shaped their kingdoms not with wisdom, but with fear, leaving behind legacies carved in suffering and silence. In this documentary, we will uncover 5 of the most merciless rulers the world has ever known and examine the methods they used to control, punish, and terrify. Through ancient chronicles, eyewitness accounts, and the echoes of long-vanished empires, we will enter a world where absolute power demanded absolute cruelty. Impaler and the Forest of Spears. Vlad III of Wallachia, remembered as Vlad the Impaler, rose to power during an age of constant invasions, political betrayal, and shifting alliances. His most infamous method, impalement, was not invented by him, but he refined it to a terrifying perfection. The process began with a long wooden stake, sharpened at one end and often oiled to slow tearing. Victims were forced onto the stake, which was then raised upright, allowing gravity to do the rest. Death could take hours, sometimes days. Vlad ordered fields of impaled bodies arranged like macabre forests. According to chroniclers from the mid-15th century, entire Ottoman scouting parties would turn back at the sight. He used this horror to break enemy morale, to punish traitors, and to establish absolute fear among his subjects. Sensory details lingered long after: the stench of decay, the buzzing of flies, and the unsettling quiet of those too afraid to speak. This method set the tone for how power could be enforced without negotiation, something that would be echoed by rulers for centuries. In the heart of ancient Rome, Emperor Nero cultivated cruelty as performance. Ruling in the 1st century of the Common Era, he blended political brutality with theatrical display. His punishments existed not only to eliminate enemies, but to entertain, shock, and demonstrate his untouchable status. One of his most disturbing methods involved coating prisoners in pitch or wax, fastening them to poles, and setting them alight as living torches for his garden feasts. Guests reported the flames flickering across marble paths, casting twisting shadows across Nero's face as he walked among them with chilling composure. He justified these burnings as punishment for treason, arson, or defiance, but in truth, his motives were rooted in spectacle. Sensory impressions were unforgettable: the crackle of fire, the metallic scent of burning, the uneasy whispers of dinner guests trapped between fear and fascination. Roman historians from the late 1st century warn that such cruelty corrupted the very soul of the empire, turning justice into pageantry and suffering into entertainment. Though often admired for his military genius, Genghis Khan employed a level of psychological warfare that reshaped entire civilizations across the 13th century. His method was not a single device, but a systematic, calculated practice of absolute destruction. When a city resisted, he ordered it annihilated stone by stone, family by family. Survivors were sometimes executed with chilling efficiency, while others were spared solely to spread tales of what they had seen. One chronicler described how entire populations were lined along riverbanks, each person placed beneath a soldier's blade, creating long, silent lines of death that stretched to the horizon. Genghis used fear as a strategic weapon. The mere rumor of his approach caused towns to surrender without a single arrow fired. The sensory aftermath of his campaigns was devastating: smoldering ruins, flattened earth where homes once stood, and the eerie quiet of abandoned streets. His cruelty was not impulsive. It was systematic, refined, and embedded deeply in the machinery of conquest. Ivan IV of Russia, remembered as Ivan the Terrible, created a new form of state cruelty during the 16th century. His method was not centered on a single torture device, but on an institution, the oprichnina. A separate domain ruled by fear, loyal only to him, it became a laboratory of psychological and physical punishment. The oprichniki, dressed in black garments and riding black horses, carried symbols of death: a dog's head to sniff out treason, and a broom to sweep away disloyalty. Their presence alone could silence cities. They enforced the Tsar's will through interrogations that spiraled into cruelty whippings, scorching irons, and prolonged torment designed to extract confessions, whether real or fabricated. One of the most infamous episodes occurred in the winter of the late 1500s, when Ivan ordered the torture and mass drowning of thousands in the city of Novgorod, convinced without evidence that they plotted rebellion. Witnesses described the river choked with bodies, the icy water turning red as bell towers tolled above the screams. Even used fear to isolate enemies, to punish imagined conspiracies, and to assert divine authority in a land torn between reform and chaos. Louis XI of France, ruling in the late 15th century, earned the name the Spider King for his tangled webs of intrigue, surveillance, and hidden cruelty. Unlike rulers who displayed brutality openly, Louis preferred secrecy, punishing quietly, whispering threats, and creating a world where every subject felt watched. His most notorious invention was the iron cage, also known as the Little Daughters of the King. These were small, harshly confined metal cages where prisoners were forced to sit hunched for months or years, their joints locked, their bones twisted, and their minds decayed. The cages were often suspended in dim castle rooms where guards could hear every groan but offer no relief. Those held within described total sensory deprivation: flickering torchlight, dripping water echoing endlessly, and the cruel silence that came when footsteps faded. Louis used the cages to break political rivals, manipulate negotiations, and remind the nobility that no one was beyond his reach. His cruelty was not impulsive, it was methodical, a slow tightening of the web until every path of escape was sealed. Though not part of the main five, Emperor Caligula stands as a grim reminder of what happens when absolute power fuses with instability. He blurred the line between punishment and spectacle, ordering families executed before the eyes of surviving relatives, hosting feasts among the dying, and turning the imperial palace into a labyrinth of fear. Roman writers describe nights where the emperor walked the corridors, whispering threats to terrified servants, waiting for signs of trembling as proof of guilt. His cruelty was not strategic. It was spontaneous, unpredictable, and deeply psychological. As we move toward the final chapter, these stories reveal that cruelty is not bound to one place or one culture. It emerges when power grows unchecked, when rulers see subjects not as people, but as tools, obstacles, or symbols. The last part of this documentary will draw the final comparisons, trace the shared patterns of tyranny, and reflect on the lingering shadow these rulers cast across history. As we examine these rulers side by side, from Vlad's forests of impalement to Nero's flaming gardens, from Ivan's black-clad horsemen to Qin Shi Huang's silenced scholars, we begin to see the shared structure beneath their cruelty. Each ruled during instability. Each believed themselves chosen, absolute, untouchable, and each turned suffering into a language through which governments communicated with their people. Regardless of era or culture, tyranny follows similar footsteps. Fear replaces trust, punishment replaces justice, and the ruler's will becomes the only law that matters. History teaches us that cruelty thrives in the absence of limits. When a ruler faces no opposition, when institutions crumble, when armies march without restraint, suffering becomes a tool rather than a tragedy. These kings and emperors carved their names into the foundations of their realms not through wisdom or compassion, but through terror that echoed across generations. Yet these stories also reveal something deeper about human nature. The capacity for brutality lies not only in individuals, but in systems that elevate one person above all others. Power, when unbounded, distorts judgment, erodes humanity, and transforms fear into governance. As we step away from the ruins, palaces, and blood-stained chronicles of these rulers, we are left with a final somber truth. The past is never as distant as it seems. Its shadows stretch into the present, reminding us of the fragile balance between authority and cruelty, and the responsibility carried by all who hold power. The echoes fade, the torches dim, and history returns to silence.